It's such a great privilege and an honour to preview this album on the show tonight. Burial, let the curtain fall. The stage is yours.
Untrue came out on November 5th, 2007. It's a deeply personal, autobiographical record, cold and purposefully introspective, yet also warm and life-affirming.
There we are, 12 fantastic albums and 12...
The album would go on to be nominated for a Mercury Music Prize, prompting UK tabloid newspaper The Sun to launch a campaign to try and reveal his identity. Burial's drums are instantly distinguishable. His laden aesthetic and off-kilter rhythms have gone on to inspire a generation of producers. So what exactly made them so unique? Burial doesn't hide the fact that he's a massive video game nerd, with a particular soft spot for the action-adventure series Metal Gear Solid. The track Archangel, for example, samples the music from the intro to the second Metal Gear Solid game. In the clip, the main character jumps off a bridge with his arms spread out like an angel. Burial builds a lot of his percussion using sounds from Metal Gear Solid. What you thought was a snare or a hi-hat might actually be a gun reloading or the game's main character picking up an extra life. Most of these have been tweaked and treated beyond recognition, but if you listen closely, you can still make out the odd raw sound. Listen out for the bullet shells hitting the ground in near dark. According to the late Mark Fisher's profile in The Wire, Burial wrote Untrue in just 2 weeks. He said he used SoundForge, a rudimentary digital audio editing software. Unlike more advanced programs like Logic Pro or Ableton, SoundForge is not a digital audio workstation, or DAW, which means that it doesn't follow a grid system for making music. Instead, SoundForge shows your tracks as a waveform. Burial has said in interviews that he knew he had the drums just right when the waveform started to resemble a fishbone. This is what gives his tracks their distinctive swing. It's also what makes them hard for DJs to mix. Listen to the drums on Untrue's title track. Notice how the kick drums sound like they're galloping. Now listen to the drums on Unite, which is one of the few, if not only, tracks that Burial made using a DAW. Here, the drums sound cleaner and more clinical. Burial says he used SoundForge because that's all he's ever known. But it's also a stylistic choice, and it's partly what gives his music its raw, hard-to-define quality. Burial's unusual production methods also extend to the way he uses vocals. Where the first album was more sparing, Untrue went to the other extreme, with vocal samples on all 13 tracks. Burial sourced his samples from all over the place, reworking lyrics from artists like Beyoncé, Christina Aguilera and Sarah McLachlan. In most cases, Burial pitch shifted the samples, that is, changed their speed until they were almost unrecognisable. The genre Burial drew most heavily from is R&B, a tradition that influenced the UK garage scene in the 90s, where producers like Sunship and MJ Cole would speed up vocals by the likes of Mariah Carey or Gabrielle to match their slinky grooves.
The signs wasn't right. I was stupid for a while, swept away.
Burial, not so restricted by tempo, was more playful. Listen to what he does to Beyoncé's soft tones on Untrue's title track. Here's the original clip from her 2006 cut, Resentment.
To the way I feel inside, and it's all because you lied.
Here's here's how the same vocal ended up on Untrue.
I feel inside, and it's all because you lied.
A gooey R&B jam by Beyoncé is one thing, but what about the schmaltzy guitar pop of Ernie Holter? An American singer-songwriter whose greatest claim to fame is that Justin Bieber once covered one of his songs. Samples from Holter's 2005 track Whisper appear alongside Beyoncé and others on Untrue's title track, though it's on the sublime Shell of Light that they leave their greatest mark.
I wasn't sure if we could be friends.
Here they are in Shell of Light. Burial's love of language is on display throughout Untrue. The album features a number of short vocal refrains that form poetic moments filled with sorrow, loneliness, or regret. Take this line, originally sung by Ashanti, from Burial's In McDonald's.
Cause there once upon a time it was you I adored. There once upon a time it was you I adored.
Or this one, sung by Usher and repeated dozens of times on Near Dark.
Oh, and I can't take my eyes off you.
A lot of the vocals on Untrue have a distant spectral quality, an effect that feeds into some of the wider themes at play in Burial's music. Ghosts, lost futures, a fascination with life's liminal states. Burial samples liberally from a genre we'll call YouTube covers. Wikipedia would have you believe that one of the samples on Etched Headplate is from Angel by Amanda Perez. But in fact, it's a cover of Angel by someone called Alicia Robinson, who performs the song to a cheap webcam in what looks like her bedroom.
God sent me an angel from the heavens above. From the heavens above.
Burial's embrace of digital sampling tells us a few things about his approach. He's a voracious YouTube digger, and he's not concerned with audio quality. It's all about the emotional value of the sound. This DIY style influenced countless other producers, from Mount Kimby and James Blake to the stars of the so-called outsider and lo-fi house scenes.
I can't answer the real question.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are hundreds of websites and online forums dedicated to hunting down every tiny sample on Untrue. The deeper you dig and the more you listen, the more you learn about the artist behind it, his favourite music, films, places, and the way he saw the world. It's an astonishingly human piece of work, which is why it resonates with so many people.